Hi, this is Charlie giving you Friday's live trading. I hope you're very well. And it is around about 20 to 8 at the moment. And there's a nice little move here going on the, if you can see on the 5 minute chart on the dollar yen. But at the moment, it's early for it to be having too much of a move in light of the day. So I'm a little bit cautious here at the moment. So I'm going to wait until after 8 o'clock and then see what happens as the volume comes in. So I'll press pause for now. Okay, just back, and it's just after 8 o'clock, and it's looking like we might get actually a reversal type trade on this dollar yen this morning, and so looking for a short to take it down to its 8 a.m. pivot. So I'm just waiting for it to close, see if it's going to close back inside my bands, and then I'll, if we do close inside the bands, then I can then short it, pop a stop above the high, and then we'll see. And the 8 a.m. pivot, it's only down at 103.52, so it's not a lot of pips in this. Oh, here we go. So there's not a lot of pips in this, but we'll see. So let's just see if we can get a little blip back up, and then I'll be putting a short in here. How many units? Let's put 3 units in this morning. I want to keep it fairly small because obviously it's non-farm payrolls later, so I don't want to go and lose, like, even if this doesn't work out, £300 or £400 just on a small trade here this morning when I want to be keeping my powder dry ahead of non-farm payrolls later. So just see if we can get the little blip back up towards the upper band, and then I can then execute. So come on then, are you gonna come on? Look, the recording's going, Mr. Market. We need you to do something for us. Otherwise I'm going to have to press pause in a minute. See, you now know that I've pressed record, don't you, Mr. Market? Right, okay. So it looks like I'm going to have to press pause here, guys. But what I'm effectively doing is just waiting for that little blip back up, just to get a side. So often you get the little blip back up to the upper band before it rolls. So that's what I'm waiting for here. But I'm going to press pause for a second. Okay, that was literally a second. So we're getting a little blip here. So let's see. There we go. Right, 64. So I've got 1 unit in at 64. 2 units short, and I said I'd get 3 in, so there we go. 3 units short, all around 64 point something or other. I'm going to pop my stop up above that high, which is at 71. I'll press pause while I'm getting that sorted. Okay, right, so the stop's in place just above the high there, and so I'm looking for 52, which is the 8 a.m. pivot. And sometimes when you get these, it's a little divergence that's in play. Sometimes when you get these divergences, it can go up and make another marginal new high, and it'll still be diverging, and so then you take a loss, and then you have to then look at it and say, decide whether you want to go in again, which I potentially could do and have a look at. But like I said, I generally want to keep the powder fairly dry ahead of a non-farm payroll, so I'll have a crack at it here this morning. If this one doesn't work out, then it may well be that I'm waiting then until 1:30 later. But anyway, I'll bring up the charts actually, so I'll press pause, I'll bring up the charts so I can show you what I'm looking at. Right, okay, so what I've done is just brought up one of my charts that I usually am watching off screen. So we can see we've got a little bit of an RSI divergence here from these peaks. Here's the 8 a.m. pivot down here at 103.52. So I'm just looking, we've got the reversal, just looking to see if it can push down to that that pivot there. This morning. It's something that happens quite regularly, so we'll see if it happens this morning. The only thing is it's had a nice run up, and so sometimes when they've had a nice run up and there's positive momentum on those higher time frames, then it can take a little bit longer before it does come down and could make another marginal new high, but we shall see. So one question I keep on seeming to getting asked is by people on these videos is, Charlie, do you just use the 5-minute chart as your time for your time frames? And that, I keep on trying to say no. The 5-minute chart I use sometimes for executing off, and you've just seen it again here. But every trading decision is usually based on other factors and other time frames. So it's very important as a day trader to not just be looking at a singular time frame. When I'm projecting these videos, it's much more interesting to show a 5-minute chart because the chart's moving around more. If I just had this sat on a 1-hour time frame, you wouldn't see a lot going on. So that's the real reason why we why I end up showing the 5-minute charts. Anyway, I'll press pause for now and we'll see what happens with this. Okay, just back, and this dollar, no, not this dollar yet. Yes, it is dollar yen. Is coming down a bit. So let's get the account ready. So it's only a small trade in relative terms, but I'm happy with a small trade in relative terms. Now, this 5-minute 21 is just on top of that 8 a.m. pivot, so I will take 1 unit off if we come down to this 5-minute 21 or 20 moving average. What have I got on here? It is a 21. Yes. So if it's the same on my charts off screen anyway, just above, it's sitting at around about 53. So for the sake of a pip, then if it comes down there, then I'll take a unit off. But we'll see if it can nudge on through anyway. So we are getting close. Fingers on the trigger. It's not a lot of money this morning, but I know what's going to happen now. Now I've pressed record, the usual's going to happen. And we're going to have to wait. But and as I always say, normally if I was just trading this and I'm not doing recordings or anything, I would just put, and I was trading a pattern like this, I would just put limit orders in. I wouldn't be sitting here waiting for it to come down. I'd just put limit orders in and I'd be doing other stuff. But when we're doing the live trading, I like people to be able to see it all happening live as it's happening. So now it looks like I'm going to have to press pause in a second. So let's do that. Okay, just back, and my screen's just flashed up. It tells me that I have just been stopped out. We'd been trading the stops down. We're here with the traders in the room. So a whopping £76 down on this trade this morning. It's a shame because it's one of those trades where it got really close. It was within a couple of pips of starting to take profit. But this is the thing. I'm doing this because I wanted to try and get a trade off this morning nice and early, and then I could have wrapped up. But now I'm probably going to keep the video going through non-farm payrolls. So kept the powder dry, so to speak. Wanted to keep it relatively small, and we'll come back to this later on this afternoon. Okay, just back, and it's now 25 to 12. We can see that the yen did go back up. Obviously, I had that little stop out for 3.5 pips. Went up a bit higher and then has come back down again. But it wouldn't be worth, as we're getting closer to non-farm payrolls, it wouldn't have been worth staying in anyway, even though it has come back down. So at some point it would have to have come out. But yes, interestingly, it has come back down. So it was the right place to be, probably on that side. But probably you could argue that you could have taken a long down in this way as well, on this point as well. But anyway, we'll keep it all fairly clean until we get to non-farm payrolls back then. Just back, and look what's happened. It's still only sort of 20 to 1 nearly, and this dollar yen finally did come down to that original level that I was looking for. So I've missed out there a little bit there on that dollar yen. So I was right in the end, so to speak, but just missed out. I mean, it didn't really cost me much, did it at all? But it could have been a little profit of a couple of £100. I think it would have been. Yeah, missed out there a little bit by trading the stop down. That was one of those situations where I managed to stop down. If I'd left the stop up where it initially was, which was just above that, I think I would have just got away with that, because the stop was up at 72. It went up to 70.8. So I would have got away with that one. But anyway, and obviously before non-farm payrolls, I would have had to have closed it out at some point, but it's still 50 minutes to go even now, so it would have been okay. Never mind, some you win, some you lose. Let's wait. I was really waiting for non-farm payrolls today anyway, so we're back to this in 45 minutes. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes to go, and we are holding here on the pound. I'll switch to the pound now. The dollar yen has come down a bit, so it's come off a little bit, but it's all about obviously the non-farm payrolls and how the figures come out, how strong or not they come, if there's super strong figures or whether they're weak. So we're going to have to wait and see, then see how these markets react. So I think they could go both ways, like they so often can do in non-farm payrolls. So I'm pretty much going to be sitting back initially when the news first comes out, I think. And we'll see, unless we get a really strong figure. If we get a really strong figure and the dollar yen flies up, then I'll probably be looking to get in on the long side on it fairly quickly. But if the figures are mixed, then and the yen shoots down and then cable goes up, then I'll probably wait for a little bit of confirmation, because sometimes they can move one direction and then move back the other. So that's the sort of plan. So I'll keep it on dollar yen actually, and I'll get the deal ticket ready. So I'm either going to be trading, I think, dollar yen or cable. Cable because the bigger trend, if we go out to the hourly charts on cable, it's up. It's been coming up, consolidating. So if it does start flying up, then I might as well be trading cable because it's got less resistance, so to speak. If it comes down, so be it. That means yen will be going up most likely. So we shall see. We've got a few minutes to go. I'll press pause. Okay, so the news is out. I thought I've been talking for the last minute and didn't realise I hadn't pressed play. So anyway, right, so we've had the initial news come out, and yeah, the payroll figures have underperformed. So looking to either short this dollar yen, or I wanted to see the average hourlies. The average hourlies are down as well. So it does look like I'm either going to be looking to short the dollar yen or get long on cable or euro. I'm just going to have a quick look across the board now at some of the others. The euro's not making it easy for me to get long on. Actually, even cable's not. I haven't got momentum today on those ones, so it could well be that I'm going to have to look to short the yen, because at least that does have, no, that doesn't have momentum either. Oh, I've got a real mismatch. So at the moment, I do not have my momentum indicators on any of these currencies lined up. So it could well be that I'm going to have to sit back actually at this stage and just carry on watching. So but the yen's come down for now, but there'll be a trade at some point. But at this early stage, just 3 minutes after the news, I'm still just playing a waiting game here at the moment. I'll press pause for now. Okay, so it could well be that I'm actually going to be trading cable. Cable's had a good run, a bit like the yen's having this run down. One thing I don't have is, like I said, is the momentum indicators lined up. But cable's okay on the higher time frames. So you know, out to the 4-hour charts, it's okay. It's just the hourly chart I don't have it quite lined up on. So I am watching this cable. So let's switch, and let's bring the deal ticket up. Okay, let's get long. Okay, right. So long there, pound dollar, as it's trying to break. We'll see if it can have a little run to 50. If it can do that, if it can run to 50, I'll take the profits fairly quickly. But otherwise, I'll still be looking to add to the position if it pulls back. So if it can run to 50, then 52 is the daily R1. You see, so if it can shoot up to there, then I'll bank the profit. So got long at 29. So if it can run up to, like I say, about 50, that's the daily R1. So at the moment, it's having this run. I've stopped watching that dollar yen. So as I'm now focused on this this pound, so I'm just gonna better get the stop sorted out in case it goes and does the opposite. 133, 132.90, and that's still a fairly tight stop. 132.90, and that's not really giving it a huge amount of room, but I have to put the stop in at 132.90. Just putting that in off screen. Now it's a case of, can it follow through? So it's already had a half decent run here. So and it was just breaking out. So I was looking to see if it was going to continue to break out. So now we find out whether that's going to be the case or not. So let's just I'm interested in potentially adding to this position yet. So although it's coming back against me, that's fine. I've only got 1 unit in. 132.90 I think is just too tight. It needs to be down at 132.80. I'm going to move that stop. That's the wrong level. So 132 tight is too tight. 132.80 it needs to be at. So I'm just going to move that down. So the interesting thing is with things like when you're trading these news events is you never get the great risk rewards on them. They're never great for risk rewards. So anyway, I know we've gone up to an R3 pivot on our 4-hour pivots, and so we've hit a little bit of resistance up there. So it's just the case that we've done a little bit of an extreme as well. So still looking to see if I get an opportunity to add that second unit, which I think is around about here. So okay, I'm going to put that second unit in. So second unit got in at 20. So I've got 2 units in now. The first one was at 30 something, and the second unit is just been in at 20. And note the first unit was in at 29. So okay, so now I'll just get these stops put in. 132.80. Don't think it needs anything more than that because it's a fairly wide stop. So it's like 40 pips and 49 pips respectively. So now it's just a case of seeing if this thing can get a bit of a leg on and continue back up. So it's got some building momentum, and so it's just done a bit of an extreme. So I knew that it was a little bit overbought in the short term, and it remains overbought in the short term. It's just a case of whether it can smash through that or not. So I shall press pause while I guess we're waiting. It's for fairly calm non-farm payrolls, really. It's nothing too major, no huge volatility, but nothing too major today. So it's just a case of seeing if we can carry on pushing up to that daily R1 and then take it from there. So we've got these 2 units, so I'll bring the other unit up, but so bring it up. So I don't need any more units in, so I'll move that off the deal ticket. So we've just got these 2 in now. It's just a case of seeing whether this can push on through. It seems to have stalled out, so it's just a case of whether it's just going to pause for a bit and then have another crack at it. I'll press pause while we're waiting. Right, so it's holding up at the moment, so just been waiting for a minute or 2 here. So let's see if it can start to push. What we'll start doing though, if this breaks, I'm going to trail those stops up aggressively to sort of 133.10. So if we start to break, then I'll start moving those stops up. So let's just see if we can, if it can indeed do that. Here we go. So can it break out this time? Remember, I'm looking at 52 as about 50 or so as a target. 52 is the actual R1, so just a pip or so below that. Would be enough. So let's see if we can break out here. So it could do it in a flurry. It could do it in a, that's why I've got my finger on the trigger here, because it could very easily just do it in a quick flurry. So I'm just watching my deal tickets here. So if I see us get to 50, then that'll be enough. About 49.50, and then we'll be about there. So I'm watching my charts off screen as well, because now one thing I just said, I'll move that stop up, so I'll just do those stops off screen whilst we're there. So let's move these stops up. 133.10 now, so I'm really aggressively moving those up now. 133.10. It's always the way when you give a trade like this initial piece of slack. You have to, because of the volatility. Then you can then start to move those stops into a more appropriate sort of level, so that you're back to sort of normal, better risk to reward parameters and the likes. So anyway, so let's see if this can get up there or what it's going to do here. It could still very quickly come back down and stop me out, but we're just going to have to see now. So with the stops at 10, it means I've got a 10 pip stop on one and a 19 pip stop on the other, and if that doesn't work out, then it's all over, so to speak. So let's just see if we can get this run on cable or not. Right, looks like I'm going to have to press pause again, so we'll see. Okay, I'm going to take the back end off, guys, because this is, if we drop below 40 again, I'll take the back end off, because, where we go, right, I've just taken 20 pips there off that back end. The reason I've done that is I'm watching dollar yen off screen, and dollar yen's putting in a half decent bounce, so a pretty good bounce there on dollar yen. So I've actually protected the trade now by banking half. So I think I've taken 20 pips there. So yeah, whatever happens, it would end up being a flat trade currently by doing that. So yeah, the yen's putting in a decent bounce. So just in case there. Because of that yen, and it's always important to be watching your other currency pairs as you're trading. So shame to have to do that, but it's felt like the right thing to do. I'm well aware that cable's a bit overbought, and so in that it's doing what we call our extreme. But at the same time, it's not quite hit that daily R1, and it could go further. In fact, what I'll do is let's bring up a ticket. If it does get up to 50, I'll sell half, so we can still try and stay in it with a final amount. So rather than just bank it all out, I'll just create a new trade by selling 50,000 because these are 100,000s. So if that does happen, we'll do that. So I'll just leave that off screen for a minute. So if we have a look at the account, let's move that off so we can see it. These are the trades from this morning, remember. These are the, you can see all this. These are the dollar yen trades from this morning where we lost £76, so I can minimize that now, don't need that. And this is the current trade on cable. Got in at 20 on that back end, took it at 40. The initial trade was at 29. Remember that stops now at 10. So we've banked 20 pips there. I'll lose best part of 20 pips if it comes down to 10. So it'll be a net flat trade. In which case, okay, I'll end up net flat apparently, really for the day if that's the case. So, but let's just see if cable can get a bit of a, if it can just get that punch up, then we'll sell. Let's bring them both over. If it can get that punch up, I'll take half of this. Essentially, by selling 50,000, it means I'll only be net long with 50,000 remaining, just in case it wants even more and wants to have a run to one. Somehow it works away up to 130 towards 134. But it looking like it's just, it had this potential here where it could have broken up properly again. And it's had that potential, but at the moment it just seems to be stalling out a bit at the moment. So we'll just see, and it might just be that it's having to think about it. So I'll press pause. So just waiting here. It's just coming off a little bit. If it closes inside the bands, I'll probably leave the come out of the trade. Because I think if it closes in the bands, then it'll probably just want to then do a pullback. And if it does that pullback, it will easily come back to my stop. So if we close inside the bands at the end of this, it looks like it's not going to now. We've got a few seconds to go. Let's just see. No, doesn't look like. Just okay. We just closed on the outside, so we're still okay for the time being. But what I was concerned about, if we'd have just closed inside the bands, then my stop's down at 133.10. Then it gives, that's the first sign that price is starting to just ease off when it closes inside the bands. And if you've got a tight stop, which is relatively mine is, down at 133.10, then it's likely it's going to come down to that level. Now we didn't quite get that close inside, so I'm now just holding on anyway. So we'll still have to see. But dollar yen's done such a good about turn, and that's what gave me that heads up. So it's why it's so important to be watching your markets, because you can have one market giving the heads up potentially to what could be going on. So that enabled me to bank half, and so this trade doesn't actually cost me anything, so to speak, now by banking half there. But hopefully, it can still hold up, and this is just a retracement. But the dollar yen is putting in quite a big reversal at the moment, and with that reversing, we're seeing a bit of a reversal here on the pound. For now, at least, it could just be an intra-bar reversal, and then they switch again. So I'll do what I have to do. Press pause. Now this is a tough call because we're approaching the end of this current 5 minutes, and very close to closing inside the bands. No, it hasn't. Hopefully, we've got a few seconds to go. I was about to say I'm going to have to close out, but no, it looked like we're just holding here on the outside of the bands, so we might still. Okay, so we're still holding here. And the reason, if we'd have closed inside the bands, because of my aggressive stop at 133.10, the risk is that it could very quickly and easily get down and come down once it closes inside the bands to come lower. It's a first sort of sign that it might want to come lower. So we still didn't close inside the bands, so I've still got to wait and see if cable can hold up here and then still push higher. So like I said, if it does get up to that 50 area, then I've got this other deal to get here in order to take half, and we'll see if we get half, and then we can then run the final amount if that does indeed happen. So far we're holding. We'll see if it can now start to push up. The dollar yen just had such a big retracement, but it's just coming off a little bit now, and that's why that's what's enabling cable to come back up again. So but it did do quite a big retracement, or it still has. So we'll have to see, and I'm watching this cable acutely. It is actually just about to do a little divergence up here, so that's something else for me to consider. Do I want to bank some profits because we're diverging up here? So if it gets up to this high here, then actually on this chart it's about here, but it's actually already pretty much done it, then we are diverging. So I've got another dilemma. Do I want to bank some profits here now? If we can get up to upper 30s, we're nearly there, because of the divergences in place. This is always the thing when you've got highly volatile markets. You have to think quick and make a decision. Now, of course, it doesn't matter. I can't lose on the trade overall, even if it did roll over, but it's still nice if I can get some profits out of it. And for the end of the week, it's been a half decent week. I've only had about 2 trades a week, 2 or 3 trades, and so we'll just have to see if I can get something here or whether it's going to back off again. So if it closes inside the bands, then I will just close it out entirely. If it can get back up towards 40, I've got to make a decision as to whether to bank half and sell 50,000 up there. So which I may well do. So I'll just press pause for a minute. Okay, just back, and it does look like this time we are going to close inside these bands. So I am going to be closing out of this position. There it is. Then we've closed inside the bands there. So I've just closed the position. So in the end, not a lot, and it could still go higher there. But so I've ended up banking £160 on that, minus the £76 from this morning on the dollar yen. And that's it for the day. So a small gain, but it's actually been a decent week. So I'm quite happy to come through non-farm payrolls, which can always be tricky, and just say, okay, fair enough. Took a little bit out of it. Now maybe cable still goes higher again, but I'm acutely been managing this, and so we'll have to see. But the thing is, we didn't have momentum lined up. We haven't had momentum locked in, and so when I don't get that all locked up in, I don't get the same. There's not the same confidence levels in the trade itself, and so for that reason, and watching these other markets as well, dollar yen doing really well, euro coming off. So we'll show you the dollar yen now, but the dollar yen, the reversal that the dollar yen's had. Look at this. So a really big reversal. So all these other factors, you have to think on your feet when it comes to big. And this is why news days like non-farm payrolls aren't for new traders, because there's so many different factors to take on board. The initial news was dollar negative, and that's why we've seen cable hold up. But euro dollar hasn't held up, and the dollar yen hasn't held down. So I think it's the right thing to have closed out as I have. Right, I shall leave that with you. Have a wonderful weekend. Back in touch next week.